Osteopathic Clinic. Doc Lance here. We're up to video number 3 today in our ketogenic series. So I want to show you how you're going to get into keto and some practical implications that you can implement from today or maybe tomorrow to help you get the most out of this diet. So how do we get into ketosis? There's a number of different ways, and some of these things you would have heard of. But the first one I want to talk about is fasting. Now, fasting scares some people because they think of the idea that you're not going to eat for a long period of time. But when we break it down into the simplicity of it, it's actually not that difficult, and it's a great way to move your body into ketosis. I tend to practice this as I find it quite easy to do. So the fasting that I tend to do is what's called the 16-8 diet, okay, or the 16-8 fast, which means you only consume your calories in a 8-hour period. So if you think about that, right, hopefully you're getting somewhere between 6 to 8 hours sleep a night. So that's half your 16 hours done. The other time is obviously spent not eating, but you can consume as much water, black tea, black coffee as you want. Obviously, be careful with your caffeine consumption there. But these things, you can suppress your appetite a little bit around that. So the thing that I tend to do is just skip breakfast, okay? And I won't have my first meal of the day until about 12 o'clock, so around lunchtime. And then I've got an 8-hour window to consume my calories over that day. So if you look at it, you'll have lunch, you might have mid-afternoon snacks and dinner. So you've spread your meals out there, you've got your calories in, and then you go from 8 o'clock till midday the next day without consuming calories. So that's how the 16-8 works. Then there's the going cold turkey, and a lot of people do water fasts where they might fast for 1 or 2 days. Some of you might experience this as a kid when you did the 48-hour famine, and that basically was a water fast, although I'm pretty sure you're allowed to have a barley sugar or something along those lines. But I wouldn't suggest this, as it's pretty full on, and you probably want a quiet weekend to do it rather than trying to do it Monday to Friday. The other thing is when people do a water fast is they usually do it in a nice controlled environment, so they're not having to go do the groceries or doing your day-to-day activity. Generally, they might go away and try and do it, and they'll do it for a few days a month, or maybe a few days every 6 months, and not really doing it. So if you're someone who would prefer to do that, that's a really good idea. Another way to get fasting into every day is to skip a meal. And I spoke about skipping breakfast, but some people will skip lunch, they'll have breakfast and dinner. Some people won't eat dinner, etc. And then the other one that gets a lot of airplay around the fasting is the 5-2 diet. And this is a calorie restriction diet. So Michael Mosley made this sort of famous. And he spoke about, for 5 days a week, you can eat whatever you want, but then for 2 days a week, you've got to calorie restrict. And so for men, that was 500 calories, which if you look at calories in food, that's not a lot of food in terms of calorie dense foods. Like think about it, one banana is probably around 120 calories. So, to get to 500, you're probably around 4 bananas. So it's not a lot of food. And then for women, it's 400 calories, which is even less. So it's challenging, but I actually recommend this to people just to get an understanding of what their calorie intake is during a day, and some things that you may have perceived as healthy, the level of calories that are taken in there. I'm not saying those foods are unhealthy, but I'm more saying that they might be calorie dense, meaning that you're not getting your bang for buck when you look at a calorie restriction for 2 days a week. The other thing I found with the 5-2 diet is because the other days you can eat what you want, you tend to make better decisions because you start getting an understanding of what calories are in your food, so it's not a bad thing. Second type of diet I want to talk about is the calorie deficit or calorie restriction. Now this is a constant, so this is making habit of being in calorie deficit a lot of the time. This is really challenging because if you think about it, over a day you might burn 2,500-3,000 calories, and so you've got to eat less than that, and that takes a lot of planning and a lot of knowledge. So it's something that you should, if you want to try it, you've got to make it habit long term if you want to get the benefits from this. And this is the real challenging thing of a calorie deficit or a calorie restriction diet. The third thing, and this is the one I love, and this is the way I tend to eat, is actually the keto diet, which is what we're talking about a little bit. Keto is fantastic because you don't really worry about calories, and I know that goes against some of the conventional wisdom there, but it's a high-fat, low-carbohydrate diet. So think about, here's a standard day what keto might look for you too. Breakfast, right? Bacon and eggs. Bacon and eggs with a bit of, some mushies or some avocado or something along those lines. You don't have your breads and grain, but you're having your bacon and eggs with coffee with full cream milk. Your lunch might be, some steak and above ground veggies. So, you're looking at a protein there with some, broccoli, beans, cauliflower, these sorts of things. You're snacking on things like, cashew nuts, cheese, yogurt, avocado. So, it's really tasty. And then dinner's a similar sort of thing. The challenge with it is you're throwing out your grains. So you see you later pasta, see you later bread, see you later these sorts of things, even potatoes, and that's a little bit challenging for people. But, when I show some on my plate and you've got bacon and eggs on there with a bit of cheese and some spinach and some avocado, it's a pretty tasty breakfast and it's a pretty easy way to eat. The thing that people tend to miss is the crunch, of having a cheese and bicky or something like that. But there are some things you can do to get that crunch, and I tend to use bacon, which isn't a bad thing. Obviously, there's some religious things that we need to be aware of. So, you have to work out how that works for you. But if you've got any questions about any of those types of diets that I've listed, so the fasting, the calorie restriction, or the ketogenic diet, be sure to email us back here and I'll be sure to answer them for you.